In a twisted game show of life or death, the contestants have to compete against each other for their lives, with the winner only being allowed to live. Some deadly, horrifying mascots are put in place, which act as the executioners in this place, riddled with death traps. The question is, will the protagonists survive in this rigged game show where death is certain? Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator, and welcome to Finding Frankie. This game has been suggested to me several times, so I guess it's finally time to cover it. The protagonist finds one of the 4 secret invitation tickets in a Frankie's Fruit Flakes branded cereal box, which invites him to participate in a parkour show in challenging obstacle courses with some other randomly selected participants. This opportunity of a lifetime promises the winner a whopping prize of $5 million cash, with over 19,000 concurrent viewers watching the contest. This seems to be the opportunity of a lifetime, with the other contestants competing against each other to win this prize. Frankie's parkour place, the complex that the protagonist is in now, is a multi-storied indoor trampoline park, which happens to be the largest in the world, at least in the universe of the game. There are several mascots in the parkour park, whom the protagonist will find in the obstacle course. Some of these mascots are Frankie, Henry Hotline, and Deputy Duck. The protagonist wears a Frankie costume and stands behind the start line, ready to race against the other contestants who have all worn the costume. As soon as the race starts, a horrifying large Frankie mascot rushes out, attacking and brutally killing one of the participants. Shocked to what he just witnessed, the protagonist runs with all of his power, now having his life on the line, seemingly like a bigger prize to win than the $5 million. I will call the protagonist Jimmy, non-canonically from now on. As Jimmy competes a training series of obstacle courses, a voice through the intercom informs him that the other contestants have died, only leaving Jimmy to be the last remaining lucky contestant. Despite being left alive, Jimmy is not yet, as he needs to reach the end of the park and find a way out. The intercom voice explains Frankie is not feeling well today, acting very unconcerned and nonchalant, as if being killed and eaten by savage mascot is a normal thing. The intercom clearly tries to suggest that Frankie is malfunctioning. Jimmy then goes on in order to find Henry Hotline, who might be of help. Jimmy has his life to worry about now, being the main thing in his mind and not the $5 million. He is terrified and shaken, not understanding what he just experienced and witnessed. Wouldn't the viewers watch the show report this to authorities to save them? It sure seems like a twisted and sinister game show where the contestants possibly play with their lives, with the viewers being specific type of people who pay top dollar for gore and death in a privately streamed show. After narrowly escaping Frankie once more going through some obstacle courses, Jimmy comes across the horrifying scene of some other previous contestants being killed, with their corpses put on display as if showing the handiwork. A little later, reading a poster on a wall, it reveals how Henry Hotline, a telephone-shaped mascot, has a late-night show, having guests and answering fans' questions. Despite the intercom instructing Jimmy to make a phone call to Henry Hotline, a drawing on the wall depicts it as a horrifying entity warning against calling him. Clearly, people who were unfortunate enough to be lured into this place before were tricked into calling him, which didn't go so well, revealing that whoever is behind the intercom calls is not on the contestant's side and wants to see them die one by one. This is further confirmed as when Jimmy goes into the vent, a deranged Frankie finds him and wants to attack him, but the voice of the intercom whispers to Frankie not to attack him just yet. It's absolutely a no-brainer now that this is some twisted game show where sadistic and rich figures pay top dollar to watch, where they see people get killed in a horrific way. It seems the intercom guy wanted to keep the show rolling for at least a while longer so that they can entertain their viewers. All the other contestants died almost immediately, not even getting to face the other mascots. As Jimmy goes further down into this death trap, it's clearly displayed how so many have been lured and killed in there before, with pools and stains of blood being everywhere. After an intense pursuit, the intercom guy still keeps the disguise and appearances, saying that he is there to help him, instructing him to go and visit Deputy Duck, who is another mascot. The intercom message ends with the person laughing in a manic way. More and more corpses can be seen left behind to rot in the park, with more blood, splatter and stains. It seems as if the park was shut down to go under renovation, during which time the organization lures individuals in to play a game of life or death. Jimmy, entering Deputy Duck's domain, comes across the mascot itself, which seems to be some sort of handheld tablet, being very small. Jimmy manages to take it with him with ease, even though the mascot acts hostile at first. But it comes in real handy, as it acts like a scanner and a flashlight. Subsequently, Jimmy finds his way into a maze where Henry Hotline mascot appears, being a grumpy and annoyed humanoid being, complaining about how he keeps getting calls, which really gives him a headache. On that note, he decides to chase after Jimmy in the maze so that he can simply put a stop to all the ringings. Jimmy has to find several telephones and ring them in the maze so that he can defeat Henry. Henry seems to not want to do anything with the show, only wanting to be left alone, yet willing to kill in order to stop whoever bugs him. The mascots, despite being robotic, are really strange and have much more in them. They seem to have unique personalities and are highly intelligent, expressing a wide range of emotions, which in a way suggests that they might actually be real humans who have somehow become these monstrosities. Deputy Duck even expressed fear and seemed to be acting like he didn't see Jimmy, trying to pretend that he is inanimate so he wouldn't be taken by him. That is because he was small and vulnerable, not as big as Henry or Frankie to pose any real danger to Jimmy. Despite that, he still had some fight in him, picking at Jimmy when he picked him up, but Jimmy literally beat some sense into him. After managing to ring all the phones, a door opens when Jimmy is quickly chased after by Henry, whose head is a telephone and constantly rings, which explains why the poor thing is so annoyed to the point of wanting to kill. Every time a contestant or fan rings, his head quite literally starts ringing. Imagine the headache and migraines the poor thing has to endure. That also reveals why the painting made by previous participants warned against ringing for Henry. Managing to outrun Henry, Jimmy enters Frankie's crash course, which has a built-in grinder, displaying how this place was specifically designed to kill the participants and the mascots didn't randomly go rogue on a massacre. Going further deeper into the bowels of this place, the blood stains become less frequent and get some sort of black tar-like consistency, depicting how not many people have managed reaching this place unlike Jimmy, with the blood starting to rot and dry up. Soon enough, Jimmy reaches a waste incinerator, which seems to be something out of place, as why would a park intended for kids have a waste incinerator? This place clearly shows to be much more sinister than Jimmy originally thought, with the waste incinerator possibly burning the bodies of killed participants. Passing the incinerator, Jimmy finds Frankie in a monitoring room, watching several surveillance monitors, clearly playing along that he is a different Frankie, the good Frankie that hasn't malfunctioned, there to help Jimmy.
Lucky contestant! What a surprise! Don't worry your mask-covered head. I'm the real Frankie, and totally not a lazily written plot device to add a twist to the story to keep our viewers entertained so we can avoid going bankrupt.
Authorities have discovered 3 dead bodies on the premises of Frankie's Parkour Palace, who seem to be 3 of the 4 unfortunate contestants chosen to participate in the company's last game show before bankruptcy. 1 contestant seems to still be on the premises and potentially alive.
Well, now that pleasantries have been exchanged, you have a journey to continue.
Jimmy obviously doesn't buy the story, finally understanding why they are doing this to them. Reading a whiteboard, it's unveiled that the park is going bankrupt and they decided to organize a life or death type of game show where they would kill all the participants. This is a last bid before shutting the place down for good, raising as much money as possible, then running away. And as I thought before, the viewers are in fact rich individuals who are making bets against contestants to who will survive and who will die. Participants are noted to be killed by who, and they are planning to keep Jimmy alive until the final obstacle course called Hexa something, with the rest being obscured. Henry Hotline and Deputy Duck seem to have both been decommissioned and damaged. Walking away, Jimmy gets a pep talk from an unexpected party.
Usually only mere seconds. If you're lucky, a minute or two. They play easy. They pity you. The only reason the ones above decided to keep you around is because you're boosting the ratings. Our viewers are entertained. We aren't going bankrupt, and this isn't our last game show. As soon as you're eliminated, 4 new cereal boxes will be sent out all around the world, sitting and waiting for its lucky contestant, just like you. I have something to give you as a token of my appreciation for bringing us into the light again. If not for you, higher-ups probably would have instructed Frankie to kill me. I'm not sure if he still works or not. Hello?
Poor Henry, being badly damaged, explains how he only went ahead with what the higher-ups asked of him, as otherwise he would be killed. He even gives Deputy Duck to him so that he can progress further, when we see what a pain it really is for him to take any calls. Unfortunately, the call is from the higher-ups, who kill him instantly. Not much later, Jimmy enters the sewers, which is the basement, completely flooded with stale, disgusting water. Having no other choice, Jimmy jumps into the water, which is the only way to progress further. As Jimmy swims through the water, he encounters Frankie, who despite having been hostile and killing the other participants, stops Jimmy and tells him to be quiet, as if he himself is trying to find a way out, being scared of the higher-ups. It also might seem as if all these mascots are placed here and forced to kill the participants against their own will. Maybe it is within their nature to be actually kid-friendly and entertain the visitors, being kind in nature, so that they find it conflicting to be hostile and aggressive. Either way, Frankie doesn't attack Jimmy and redirects him, telling him to keep quiet, as if trying to protect him. After going through the water park, Jimmy enters the Frosted Peak, where many participants are killed with their corpses put on display, with many of them rotting. This place seems to be one of the final showdowns, as a display shows the concurrent viewers rising, with many lights and cameras in place. In here, Jimmy has to run away from a flooding slime, which would drown him, and then pass through a Wipeout-style obstacle course, where there are mechanical sharp circular saws. Managing to pass through all of these, he enters Hexa Havoc, which, as we read from the whiteboard before, seems to be the final place. The place where Jimmy is planned to be killed, sending him off in a way to boost their viewership. Here, Jimmy faces an aggressive Frankie whom he needs to play against on a collapsing floor type of game where he needs to evade Frankie at the same time. Finally, reaching a floor, Jimmy overloads a cannon which releases many little mascots called noobs who are dumped on Frankie, sending him down to the incinerator. Unfortunately for Jimmy, however, as the floors are collapsing, he also drops to the bottom, down into the incinerator. In here we get a plot twist, however. What's strange is that the story doesn't end here, with Jimmy somehow surviving and going back to the monitoring room when the organizing Frankie is in. This is the supposed good Frankie who didn't attack Jimmy, but someone who was seemingly the brains behind the operation. That's when Jimmy is actually given $5 million, manipulated to participate in the next season, being the 58th season, as the views are at an all-time high, with the profit skyrocketing.
As promised, $5 million in cash. You're the first contestant we've ever had who won. Hundreds of people last a few seconds. A few last a couple of minutes. But you're different. I like that. But let's be honest with ourselves for a second, contestant. We need each other. Especially you. I mean, look where you live. And you've helped us. Having a privately streamed and funded show isn't the easiest thing in the world. And then, on the verge of bankruptcy, you came along. Our star. But stars don't just leave after a season, do they?
Jimmy was the only contestant who survived, who has shown remarkable skills at survival and obstacle courses. Frankie, the person behind the intercom messages, explains how they need each other. Despite the organization seeming like the only party in desperate need of money and nearing bankruptcy, a visualization of Jimmy's house displays what a mess his life truly is. It seems Jimmy was in dire need of money as well, and most importantly, a purpose to live. This is a privately streamed show which has been running for 57 seasons. Just imagine how many people had to die. Way more than 200. Despite Jimmy falling and being so close to die, having a certain fate of dying, the show seems to keep him alive, with another Frankie mascot saving his life, so that they can use him for another season or another contest at least, as their profits skyrocketed. One of the Frankie mascots reaches its arm out towards Jimmy, in a way inviting him to be a bigger part to the show, when in a symbolic way, Jimmy is standing on top of the pile of corpses of previous contestants, while the mascot is standing behind him, as if shadowing him, depicting that he has become a mascot himself, a deranged maniac who only cares about money, playing along, who will most likely compete against other contestants in the renewed season 58, where he would have to compete again. That wouldn't be any concern, however, as Jimmy is a capable person and will surely win, meaning he has to let others die for more money in a partnership with this organization. Jimmy looks back at Frankie as if looking in a mirror, looking back at himself, with the new cereal boxes being put back on shelves to lure new contestants into this deadly game show. You might ask why nobody is investigating the murders and the massacres, and why nobody looks for these missing contestants who are of course dying. Well, the simple answer could be, based on what we saw from Jimmy, these people are alone, having a messed up life, and that is why they are probably specifically handpicked by the organization to participate in the show. So when they are killed and disposed of, nobody would investigate or go looking for them. And that is it for this video, folks. If you enjoyed it, make sure to stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, it's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.